The erection of Brighton Hove Albion Stadium's east stand roof. The main structural element of the east stand roof is a truss which spans approximately 165 metres. The truss is split into 3 sections and assembled in the pitch area. The southern section is assembled first, followed by the middle and then the northern section. Where possible, lengths of rafters, purlins and bracings are also bolted to the trusses at this preliminary stage. The northern and southern sections are supported on the pitch by a series of stacked containers and temporary steel frames. The middle section is supported on concrete blocks. The installation sequence commences with the southern section, followed by the middle and finally the northern section. The bearing support steelwork is installed into the concrete anchor block at the southern end. The bearing itself is then fixed in place. The crane lifts the southern section of truss and lowers it into place, where it is supported by the bearing assembly and one of 2 temporary steel trestles. Restraining flats are then fitted to the bearing assembly to avoid the truss lifting off the bearing in the temporary condition. The containers and temporary support steel are removed following the installation of the truss section. The middle section is lifted and lowered into position where it is connected to the southern section of truss and the second of the 2 temporary trestles. Meanwhile, the bearing assembly has been installed at the northern end of the stadium. The final section of truss is lifted and then connected to its bearing assembly and the middle section of truss. Again, restraining flats are fitted to the bearing assembly. Once the truss erection is complete, the remainder of the roof steelwork is installed. This consists of steelwork spanning from the truss to the back of the stand and also a portion of the roof cantilevering out from the truss. The back portion commences by standing columns to the rear of the stand. This is followed by installing the vertical bracing. The 2 rafters on grids EH and EI will then be bolted between the truss and columns, followed by the horizontal bracing. This operation is repeated for the columns and rafters on grids EJ and EK. The cold rolled purlins are installed once the bracing connections have been made. The remaining rafters, bracing and purlins are then installed. The cantilevered portion of the roof consists of rafter extensions, bracings and purlins. The rafters are erected in the same sequence as the back portion of the roof.